Hi, Judah family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody give me a thumbs up in the chat if everybody can hear me okay. I checked the sound earlier, but I want to make certain that it's working before we begin with a channel from Judah. Can you guys hear me? Great. All right, good. All right, tonight's going to be so fun. So fun. We're going to springboard off of a prior channel that we had from Judah where Judah said our soul is like our Ted Lasso. Did any of you guys watch that series from HBO? We absolutely loved it over here. Maybe the only last standing decent piece of television out there. All right, let's begin. I'm going to move this mic back a little bit. Okay. If you have your FLFE boost and you want to start it to add to the high consciousness field here, that's great. We'll just set the intention for this evening to be exactly what you're wanting and needing to hear, everything that you want and need to hear, and every energy that you need to receive is going to go straight into your being, into your field, and become a part of your life. And everything that's not of service to you will just fade away. Good. Hello, everyone. Hello, good Judah family. Welcome to every one of you all around the world. Not just those here tonight, but those joining tomorrow and the next day and weeks and months and even years from now will stumble upon this moment in time that is recorded, and it will be of service to elevating your level of consciousness and everything about who and what you are that is right and good and aligned in your current experience. Yes. Tonight we're going to talk about this game of life. There's a lot to be learned here. We want to adjust, reframe, correct some thinkings about ego and so on, and give you a new grace to ascend into a more integrated version of your higher self, more connected to your higher self. We will lay some groundwork here in our own unique way before the vessel begins with the teaching we have prepared with and through her. What is your soul? What is your higher self? Your soul is the portion of your higher self which is located in your physical body for this incarnation. That is your soul. It is an eternal aspect of you. It is pure. It is divinity. And it is connected to your higher self. What is your higher self? Your higher self is a conglomeration, a collage, a collaboration, a coming together of all of the aspects of you, every life you have ever lived and will live, every experience, thought, word, deed, expression, impression that you've ever had from the moment you emanated out or separated out from source, from all that is, as a unique and individualized expression of source. And many lifetimes you have lived and will likely, most of you live many more. You have eternity to get all of this right, my dear. So turn down the pressure. Turn up the desire, but turn down the pressure about all of these things, and know that you've got plenty of time to figure it all out. So your higher self is so wise because it has had so many different experiences. Your higher self has been male, female, every skin color you can imagine. Every type of work, life work, every type of family. There are unlimited possibilities, and of course you have tried on so very many of them. So when you call upon your higher self, when you access your higher self, when you channel your higher self, you are accessing all the wisdom of all of those lifetimes of souls. So at best, you might, most of you that are in contact with your higher self in communication and have an established relationship with your higher self likely can embody within your physical being about 15% or so of your higher self. If you were to contain all of your higher self in your physical body, you would likely explode in a happy explosion of light and joy and celebration. It's quite too much for your physical body. But we do want your soul, your unique, eternal God part, to be connected to your higher self, have access to it, and to be in constant communication with all that you are, higher self, all that you are. Now, tonight, this vessel is going to teach you about how to let your soul, which is embodying some degree of your higher self, to be in charge of your life based on a metaphor which we gave not so long ago. You see, that we want your soul to be the coach of the game of your life. See, before your awakening, your soul was asleep on the bench, or perhaps on some other assignment, or just simply gone away without leave. And the players and the pieces and the game of your life was just running willy-nilly, all like feral children running all over a soccer or a football field, doing whatever it is that pleased them and behaving in any manner. And there was no congruence or unity or purpose to any of it. So, in order to bring this unity of purpose and to manifest your purpose, your divine purpose, not what the ego wants, not what society or your family or the systems around you want from you, but what you're really here to do, you need your soul to be awake and at the helm. Now, we would say for 99% of you tuning into a broadcast such as this, your soul is awake. You are in an awakening process. Yes. Good. And this is a wonderful place for you to be, to learn how to have your soul be a competent coach for this incarnation and what you're here to do. But we also, because we work with so very many of you, we know that there are many of you who still find many things in your life that don't add up, that aren't what you want. As this vessel sometimes jokingly calls it, she says you have manifestation constipation. You want abundance, but you're living pay to paycheck. You want to do something fulfilling, but you're working in a job that smells and feels like a slavery type situation. You want love. You want to give and receive love with a spiritual partner, but instead you're living with an alcoholic or someone who, let's say, might be a good person, but they're completely disinterested in spiritual pursuits. And all these other stories we know that you're living. They're real to you. They are important to you. There's a lot of talk in the New Age community. Well, none of it's real. Okay, well, that may be so on a quantum level, but for you, it's real. And so let's not be silly or ludicrous here. Let's help you get in control of this dream you are experiencing. If you're going to be in a dream, you might as well have fun while you're dreaming. Why dream? Why be caught in a nightmare, right? Let's make it fun. So listen closely. Understand that when we stop speaking directly through the voice of this channel, it does not mean that we've gone anywhere. We're still here, right with her, beside her, in her, speaking through her human voice. Because why? Because we are her higher self, which we explained to you earlier. She can embody some percentage of us. And because of this direct line in, that she has developed through a lot of surrender and a lot of suffering and willing to be rid of her ego and the things, the suffering it has caused. She has this direct line in to us, and we express ourselves with a lot of power through her. And this is also a possibility for you. Each of you has your own Judah, your own higher self, your own collective of angels and guides that you can work with. And if you stick around, this vessel will show you how to do that. Many of you are already channeling as a result of your relationship with us. Now, we've talked enough. Let's get on to the topic. Okay, that's a lot of fun. How you doing over there, Big Daddy? Chuck's here with me. We're Angie and Chuck Hipple, if you haven't met us before. And Chuck doesn't like to be on camera, so he goes incognito in the sideline over here. But you might hear him pipe up here and there. Okay, so in the game of your life, who are the players? Well, we've got all kinds of friends, family, colleagues, neighbors, people that we're interacting with, right? But tonight, I'm not going to focus on that, because what have Judah's taught us to do? Focus on our own heart, do our own work, look inside. Guess what? There's a whole bunch of players in there. There's a whole bunch of players inside of us. And we're going to learn all about that tonight. Now, in some ancient traditions, this is called Maya, right? That den of voices in the head. In some traditions, it's called the monkey mind. I believe it's the Buddhist tradition. You've probably heard that phrase. Many of you, perhaps, when you sit down, I would say probably all of you, if you're like me, when you sit down to meditate, sometimes that monkey mind is going. So we can adopt a mistaken attitude that we just want to silence this monkey mind, whatever this thing is. We want to silence it. We want it to shut up. We hate it. We don't want it to be a part of our lives, right? Well, that comes from a misunderstanding about what the monkey mind is, or what all these voices are in our head. These voices are players. They are parts of us. They are parts of us, and we're going to learn all about that tonight. So, internal players. Can you control the game of your life? Is there anything you can do about the game of your life? What can you do to create the outcome that you want in this game called life? In your inner life, your thoughts and feelings are generated by different aspects of your personality, okay? And we're going to refer to those quite a bit tonight as parts. So I want you to keep in mind the metaphor of players, like players on a soccer team or a football team. The players are your parts. Okay, what are parts? They are memory structures in your brain. They are energies. Memories are energies. But they have a whole little personality and life of their own. They're kind of like Austin Powers Mini-Me, right? That's way back, but some of you've watched Austin Powers. These parts are memories. They are energies. They are stored in the brain, and they are driving your experience. And we're going to find out why and how. And some of these players are responsible for giving us a lot of really unpleasant experiences in our life that aren't what we really want. So how do these parts or players formed? And how are they affecting your life today? And what can we do about it? So you have to stick through all the way through with us tonight if you want to find out what to do about these parts. So a lot of times when you're sitting down to meditate and you're finally quiet, in that really, really quiet, deep, still, calm peace that you reach at some point in meditation, that is who you really are. That is your soul. That is your soul. And that is the point in which you're connected to your higher self and your angels and source. And so one of the reasons why it's so important to meditate is so you can begin to memorize what that feels like. Maybe you only have a minute or 5 minutes of that total quiet and deep stillness. But that minute or 5 or 10 minutes that you have in there is valuable because it's reminding you, it's helping you remember who you really are, what your soul feels like. All the other stuff, all the chatter, all the thoughts, all the memories, all the thinking about the grocery list and your car and your kids and all of that, those are your parts. And we're going to talk about what to do with those things. Okay, let's get some conscious understanding first. Why do I give you conscious understanding? Judah wants to talk about that. Yes, we give you some conscious understanding so that we can build a bridge to your subconscious and your higher self. Good. Okay. So understand that our subconscious mind is about 95% of the thoughts, feelings that are going on or under the surface in our subconscious mind, and only about 5% of what we're thinking and feeling are coming from our conscious mind in the current moment. And this is what neuroscientists have discovered for us. Okay, so it's kind of scary if you think about it. So all of you are here tonight. You're giving conscious attention to this teaching. But that's only about 5% of your brain function. And the 95% tonight is what we want to talk about. So this is similar. If you think about your brain as being similar to a computer, right? You have all kinds of operating programs on your computer that you could access at any time and use them to do all sorts of different tasks, right? If you want to put something on your calendar, you open a different app than when you want to look at your bank account, or when you want to use a calculator, or when you want to write a book. So we have all these different programs just like a computer does. And we need these different programs. And then some of them we don't need. Some of them are really train wrecking our life, right? And so our conscious mind is like the one window that we have open that we're actually using and engaging in the moment. So if we had too many windows open, what would happen? Well, our computer wouldn't work very well. It'd work really, really slowly. It might even freeze up or just shut down altogether. So we close out all the windows we're not using and just leave open the one or two that we need right in the now moment. So those open windows that we're using in the now moment, that's our conscious mind, right? But the subconscious is all those other programs. Okay. All right. So when you consider this, that 95% of everything you think, feel, and the actions that you take are being driven by or decided by your subconscious mind, not your conscious mind, that can be a little freaky. So that's why some of you are putting, I know because I talked to you, you put so much effort consciously into growing. You watch videos like this, you read books, you meditate, you do courses. You really want to grow. You want to be your highest, most enlightened self. You're consciously on the ball. But what sabotages you is all the subconscious things under the surface that you're not aware of, right? So we think that we have free will, and free will is the primary universal law. And we do have free will, but we're not able to exercise our free will in our conscious mind if our subconscious is driving our lives. Now, one important thing about meditation is that science is finding out that meditation connects our conscious and subconscious mind. This is really powerful. It's important to know. And it can actually do that in just a few hours or in a few days. So this is why you want to keep at it, even if it feels like a bust for you. Don't worry about it. Keep showing up because it's going to create a neural pathway between your conscious and subconscious mind. And when we can get both of those talking together, then you're in a position to really get free. Now, a lot of the things I'm talking about tonight is because I want to prep you for Judah Treats. This is a new program that's really inexpensive, and you can try it for 2 weeks for $1 that we presented to you last week. So I'm sharing a lot of the things I want to share with you tonight so that you can understand why it's important to free yourself on the subconscious mind, and so that you'll understand what Judah Treats is doing for you if you decide to try it out. Okay, so meditation can make such a change, and I've experienced this more times than I can count. I've been upset. I've had a problem, something in my current active experience that's really distressing me. I sit down and meditate, and when I get up, either I have a completely revolutionary different idea, a creative idea about what to do, or it just doesn't matter to me anymore. I've completely surrendered it and let it go. And I don't even know exactly how that happened, but that can be the magic of meditation. Now, but what about when you've meditated until you're blue in the face and your fanny is numb and you're still not getting free of certain things? You can be assured that there's a subconscious part that's hanging you up, and we're going to talk about that. Okay. Judah recently said this in a channel. How do you take care of yourself every day? Let your soul be in charge. Your soul is the coach. Your soul is the wise, loving parent. It's the Ted Lasso of you. And if one of your parts steps up and tries to make a foul play, sit him out of the game on the bench. So this is the channel that we're kind of jumping, is our jumping off point tonight. So imagine that your mind is a playing field. Okay. And above ground is the 5% of your conscious mind. And below the ground is the 95% of your subconscious mind. And throughout your day, there's all kinds of gophers and critters asleep on the surface of that playing field. But all throughout your day, depending on what's going on, those little gophers will pop their head up from beneath the surface and have something to say about what's going on. So I want you to think of the players on the team. Their parts, their old memory structures, their ego parts, their trauma parts, their conditioned ways of thinking, their roles that you play, that you're attached to, like daughter, son, brother, teacher, father, boss, factory worker, neighbor. So their old memory structures, their conditioned ways of thinking, their roles that we play. And sometimes the parts, certain parts or aspects of ourselves, they're not playing in the game. They're sitting on the bench or they're in the locker room, right? When you're at work, you have to use different parts or aspects of yourself than you do when you're at home being a mom and so on. And that makes sense to us, right? Just like if you were, let's say you were going to hang out with friends at a bar and have dinner and have drinks, you would present a different part of yourself than you would if you were going to church or sitting in a meditation class, right? I mean, if you went to a meditation class and acted like you were in a bar, that would be really bizarre. And if you went to a bar and sat with your hands crossed and your eyes closed like you're in meditation, that would be really bizarre too. So we have many different parts and they have a purpose. They are ego parts. And if we didn't have those ego parts, our social life, our interaction with people around us in our day-to-day life would be a train wreck. And that's a little bit of what kind of like Asperger's and some of these is similar to. It's the inability to distinguish which part or player needs to get out on the field and play the ball in any particular situation. So our ego is not necessarily an enemy. It has its place. It has a purpose, our ego parts. But there are some ego parts that really cause us to suffer. And when we're suffering, we can rest assured that there's an ego part that's behind it. Okay, so some of our parts might be dormant or sitting on the bench in any particular moment of our day. And others might be out on the field playing the game, running defense or kicking the ball. And different triggers in our current experience can cause different parts to wake up and become active and get up off the bench and run out and get involved in the game, right? So let's say that perhaps you had some traumas when you were young. And so you learned to be very protective of yourself, of your more fragile and hurting parts. So something might happen, you might see something on TV, or somebody might say something, or you might see a news story, or be helping a colleague or a friend who's in a similar situation as the one you experienced when you were young, and all of a sudden that old part of you that's protective in a trauma situation will wake up and move into the situation and begin interacting, right? Okay, so we've talked about the parts. They are old emotions, memories, ego parts, trauma parts. They can have layers and layers and layers of memories stacked on memories, stacked on memories. Now let's talk about the coach. The coach is your soul, your higher self, as Judah said earlier. Sometimes we call this superconscious, and I'll explain why in a moment. So when you undergo an awakening, your coach, who's been snoozing on the sidelines of your life, maybe for 15, 20, 30, 50 years, wakes up and goes, "Oh crap. My life is a mess. These players are all running amok. We're losing this game called life. Let me pull myself together here and get this team working together." And the soul also can, even after it wakes up, it can lapse into segments of unconsciousness and go back to sleep. That happens to some of us as well. And we can also have these, and we all have them, these parts we'll call them protector controller parts. And these guys will sometimes take over and try to coach the game, like the Nathan Shelley and Ted Lasso. And they're not the best coach, right? They don't necessarily have the whole game perspective on the whole game. They have some ulterior motives. They might be defensive or hurt or angry or judgmental. And so when they're running the game, then things tend to go south. All right. And then there can also be fields in this game. And when I speak of this word fields, I'm talking about the weather or the atmosphere of the game of your life. We can have in the quantum field, in our personal auric field, we can have hurt, anger, frustration. We can have different moods and things that move in. All right, let's define the superconscious. Are you guys with me? You doing okay out there? So the superconscious is kind of a mystery. It is literally a place in our brain. Personally, I believe it's the pineal gland that is divine, it's eternal, it's unharmed, it's all-knowing and all-wise. It can connect with our higher self, and we can channel wisdom from our higher self and source and angels through this super conscious aspect of ourselves. And it's who we really are at our core. It's our very best part. Now, Carl Jung was the one who coined this term superconscious, and he used it to refer to a state of really highly intensified consciousness. So it's like that state of bliss that you sometimes enter into in meditation. And Jung said, and that, Jung is way back in the day, right? But he said that this superconscious belongs to the realm of metaphysics and not to science, and that it's beyond proof and experience. But there are people out there now, like Joe Dispenza and others, who are doing some pretty revolutionary work. And I believe that their scientific research is going to prove the existence of this super conscious divinity in us. So the superconscious can also be called the observer, right? It's the part of us that can watch our thoughts, our feelings, the circumstances going on around us, and stay in a neutral space. Okay. And so researchers in energy psychology have found out that even people who have had like heinous abuse and torture and lived through war and, unconscionable things, when they work with these people, they found that there's still an aspect of their mind in their emotional and thought life that is completely okay. It's unharmed. It's never upset. It's at peace. It's perfect. It's whole. It's not been touched or tainted or warped by the traumas that they've endured. So the superconscious or the soul, it's like this Ted Lasso for all these parts going on in us, our mother parts, child parts, professional parts, neighbor parts, our hurting trauma parts. It's the coach for all of that. And it's the perfect coach because it has an intuitive sense of what needs to happen for us. It sees the big picture. It sees the whole game. It sees the whole season. It sees all the players. It sees all the opposition. It senses the weather. Our soul has the 360 of everything going on. And this superconscious can gently and lovingly direct our players and create a win that's in alignment with our highest joy and our highest purpose. And our soul knows the strengths of each player and the weaknesses of each player. And the soul knows when to put an egoic portion of ourself into the game and when to make them sit out, right? Like, for instance, I have a businesswoman part. There are times that I need that part for the living of my life. But when I come to be with you guys and I'm working one-on-one with you, that part has to sit on the bench. It's not the right time for that part to be active. But the other parts, like my mother part that loves unconditionally and nurtures and comforts, that part, I want to be present during that time, right? So your soul knows when to allow certain parts of your ego to be on the field and when to sit them out. And your soul, like Ted Lasso, trust. If you've watched the series, if you haven't watched it, I hope you'll watch it. But one of the things I love about this character is no matter whether they win or lose, no matter whether a player gives their very best effort or totally blows it, he loves them. He's present for them. He cares more about them than he does about the outcome of the game, right? He instinctively, intuitively knows how to love them into growth and alignment with their purpose and into collaboration with their team, right? And he knows how to tap their potential. That's what your soul is. Sometimes when I work with you guys, a part will show up and it will be, let's say, maybe a victim part. Woe is me, this horrible thing, life has done this to me and I can't let it go. I can't let it go. And that's okay. I understand when you have that feeling, but I know that that's not who you really are. That's not your soul. And so I know that I'm talking to a hurt, victimized young part that has nothing to do with who you really are. And so I'm going to call on you, on your soul, your Ted Lasso, to step up and take authority, take spiritual authority over that young victimized part. And you can learn how to do this for yourself. Do you have anything so far, sweetie? Okay. Now let's talk about the subconscious, different from the superconscious. It's that 95% of all those things sublimated under the surface, all those programs. It causes your heart to beat. It causes your lungs to breathe in and out. It causes you to involuntarily scratch your head when your head itches. It causes your eyes to blink and your nose to sneeze. And it does all these wonderful things. So again, in this new age kind of spiritual world that we have, we can tend to poo-poo on the subconscious, but the subconscious is important. It's created by your creator and it has a purpose, right? But it can also be a saboteur. Oh, yes, it can. because there's stuff down in our subconscious mind that we don't need anymore, and it can train wreck things. So I want to give you an illustration by a really brilliant woman named Colette Stryker to help you understand how this works. So I want you to imagine that you're going into a restaurant, and this restaurant has everything on the menu that you want to have to eat in this life. All the good stuff that you want to manifest in your life is on the menu in this restaurant. And you go in and you sit down at the table and with the menu, and you order up what you want from life. Okay? The great job that you love, and a sense of purpose, and a great relationship, and with a spiritual partner, and plenty of money, and all the stuff that you want to order off the menu, you order it up. Okay, and you give the waiter or the waitress your order, and they take it back to the kitchen, and they tell the chef what you want, and the chef takes down their recipe book and opens up the recipe and starts whipping it up. Well, the chef is the subconscious mind, right? And his recipe book is all the memories of everything you've ever thought, felt, seen, heard, experienced, and including all the stuff from your past life, all the karma that you haven't resolved yet. It's all in that recipe book, right? So your subconscious mind goes to work whipping up everything you want, but it's putting all the wrong things in it. Maybe you ordered a pizza, and it's putting I don't know, asparagus on it, and beans, and I don't know, all kinds of pepper and terrible stuff on it. And because it's using these old recipes from your hurt, pain, trauma, religious conditioning, what your teacher said, what the bully on the playground said to you, all of that stuff, it's using all those recipes. So they bring out the meal, and you're like, what? Your conscious mind is like, what is this? This is not at all what I ordered. This is wrong. Take it back. Tell him again what I want. This, and this. He has to make it over. This is not acceptable. And guess what? The waiter goes right back, speaks to the same chef with the same recipe book of the same old crappy crap from your subconscious mind. And guess what he's going to do? He's going to make exactly the same awful, terrible way that he did the first time, because the recipe is still the same in the subconscious mind. So you see how this can get you caught in this loop of creating what you don't want. So the superconscious is like the restaurant manager. It's your divine part. It's the part of you that accesses Judah, that accesses source, that accesses ETs and high wisdom and your higher self. And this restaurant manager has to step in, and he has to go back and visit the chef and take the chef's recipe book away from him and throw it in the oven and burn it, and give the chef a brand new recipe book. And then the chef is finally to deliver to your table, to your conscious life and your current experience, what you really want. Okay? So if you're stuck, if you've been trying it all, doing all the good stuff, the meditation and listen to the channel, all the good stuff you've been doing, and you're still getting stuff you don't want, don't be mean to yourself. It's because there's stuff in your subconscious. Judah Treats is going to absolutely unseat those old subconscious beliefs. And we're going to continue talking tonight and give you more about how to get you started on doing this. You have some things, sweetheart?
I like to see the unconscious mind, some of the programs in the unconscious mind as tapes. You push the play button and you get the same thing. You push the play button, I'm unworthy of having money. Every time you push that button, that's the tape that you get. And most of these tapes that don't serve you, you didn't put them there. They were put there by parents and teachers, and you weren't born with them. But they're there mostly gotten when you're young, before the age of 7, before you have an analytical mind. Mm-hmm. And so these tapes are what pop up when you have a thought about something. When you have a thought about money, then the tape, "You're not worthy of having money," pops up. And until you change that tape, that's what you're going to get.
That's right. And so you can say all the affirmations you want to say and read all the books about abundance. And you can keep ordering up to angels and source. And some of you get mad at Judah sometimes because Judah doesn't give you what you want. And I know what's happening. It's not about what Judah's doing or not doing for you. It's about something in your subconscious mind that needs to be unseated. So see, we can do all that good stuff. We can ask angels and read the books and say the affirmations and all of that. But if, as Chuck said, if there's an old subconscious program of "I'm not worthy to have money," then it doesn't matter. Somebody can give you $100,000 and you know what? You'll burn through it in a few weeks and you'll be back to being broke because you believe on an unconscious level that you don't deserve to have money. So go ahead, sweetie.
So remember, if your conscious mind has 5% of your power and your unconscious mind has 95% of your power, and so consciously you want money with 5% of your power, but unconsciously you feel unworthy with 95% of your power, guess who wins that game?
Right. And so the game is called, and the subconscious wins, and you lose. What you consciously want gets sidelined by the subconscious. And so I don't want you to be discouraged at all. I just am taking a lot of time tonight to share this because I literally have had certain aspects of my life that I have been toe-to-toe struggling with for 53 years. I mean, Chuck and I have been, and Chuck is the same. I mean, we are both avid explorers and investigators, constantly looking and looking and looking and learning, because that's what a healer does. A healer keeps looking until they find the keys of freedom. And so I wasn't only looking for freedom for me, I was looking for all of you guys too. And so when I began to understand this key when I would listen to Dr. Bruce Lipton's work, and a lot of you probably listened to his work, and if you haven't, if you want to be a master of understanding this process of the subconscious mind, dive into his work. But even after I listened to all his work and I just honor him as a spiritual father, I still did not know how to unseat these old beliefs, like Chuck was saying, of "I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable," all of that. Well, I'm unveiling to you guys tonight what I'm learning about how to rewrite your subconscious tapes. It can be done, and it's simple, it's easy, it's painless. Chuck does it with his magic acupuncture needles. I mean, literally does it. He can literally move out the energy of old subconscious beliefs with his acupuncture. But unfortunately, you guys can't all come for acupuncture. So we got to find, and we have found, other ways to help you here. Okay, so let's go back to these parts, right? Let's see, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, good. All right, so now let's talk about parts. We've talked about the subconscious. We've talked about the superconscious. Now, the parts are the ones that need coaching by the soul or the superconscious, and they're the ones that need healing and need assistance. These parts are energies. They are memories. They are memory structures. Some of them have many, many, many layers of similar aspects. When I first began breaking free in this area and getting my own freedom, I will tell you guys that I began to have dreams every night of parts. I would see, like for instance, in one of them, I saw a little boy about 11 years old, and he had a huddle of 3 or 4 other friends holding on to him. And they were all huddled around him, holding him to protect him. I couldn't even see him. I could only see a tiny little bit of his head. And when these 3 or 4 friends let go of him and I could finally see him, I was able to heal him in the dream. Judah was healing him. So what I understood from this dream is that not only was there a little boy there, a part, this little boy of me, but there were 4 or 5 other parts protecting him. And they had him all covered up. I don't even know how he was breathing in there. So you may start dreaming about these different parts. Okay, these parts are caused, and these are literal visceral physical energies in your brain. Okay, the reason I saw them as people, as children in my dream, is because our brain works in metaphors. Okay, so in the night, many times our brain will tell us what is going on, and will also heal us and help us to process. And if you're taking the True You Accelerator course with us, we spend an entire week on how you can maximize what goes on with you at night in your dream state for your healing. So these parts are energies, they're memories, they are little mini me's. They have personality. They can be ego parts. As we said before, how you act when you go to church is different than how you act when you're at a bar, and different than how you act with your children, and so on. So they're ego parts. They can be trauma parts. And how do these parts even get there? Well, they come anytime we're flooded with emotion in an intense situation. This can cause a part to form. So I'll give you a really practical example for me. When someone yells at me, I have a part that pops up onto the playing field and runs out and gets the ball, or hides, or I don't know what it does, but it doesn't. I have a part that shows up, and it's from trauma when I was very young, from being screamed at. Um, and so that part is very young in me. And so when that part kind of takes the ball and takes over the game, then my higher self has to reassure it, has to call it out of the game, comfort it, love it, sit it out, not let it run with the ball, right? Do you have anything on that, sweetie? Okay. I really kind of feel bad about even doing this topic tonight because Chuck's really the master on all of this stuff. He should really be the one teaching all this. So parts can be caused by trauma, by painful or dysfunctional situations. They can be caused even by new situations that are really intense, like going to a new school in a new city. It could be fun and kind of exciting, but a part can form as a result. And they're formed in response to cultural or family or religious experiences and expectations. Like you can imagine in some cultures, let's say with young girls or young boys that go through cutting as part of rituals in their tribes or their religious affiliations, they can have trauma parts that result from that. So some of the parts are ego parts and some of them are not. But there are many, many parts that give us unwanted experiences in our current life. There are young, fragile, hurting parts, and they develop also protector controller parts that guard them. Well, how in the world do we know about all this? Well, because in dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder, as caring professionals have continued to help these folks, they found out we all have multiple personalities, all of us. In fact, the more we research, we found out that most people, normal functioning people, have around 200 parts. And then there are some people that have enormous trauma that could have as many as 2,000 parts, right? So these parts could be parts like this: critical parent part, rebellious teen, the black sheep, the pleaser, the addict, the responsible one, the lazy one, or the beach bum, the cheerleader that's always cheering people on, the innocent one, the saint, the spiritual seeker, the businessman. There's all kinds of different parts. I know you got more stuff. You want to share? Go ahead.
It would probably take 20 minutes to explain what I would explain.
Go ahead, sweetie.
Okay, let me just give the short version. When you have a memory, there's a certain amount of energy that goes into that memory. So the more emotion In other words, for a trauma, there's a lot of emotion, lots of fear that goes into that memory. So later on in life, when there's some kind of trigger, say somebody tried to hang you with an orange rope, and one day, 30 years later, you see this piece of orange rope laying on the ground, and all of a sudden you get really, really fearful because it brings up that memory, and in that memory was a lot of energy, and so it was able to take over control and make you feel that fear.
Yeah, good, wonderful. All right, so parts can carry enormous burdens as well. Okay, so let's say if you were abused, let's say when you were 4 or 5, then you likely also created, of course, there was obviously a fearful, traumatized part. And science understands now that when we undergo a trauma like that, the part of our brain that calculates or perceives time freezes. So that's why whenever that part is triggered again in the future in your current experience, you will respond like a 5-year-old because that part is literally frozen in time. But with that will form a second part or maybe even more that protects that young, fragile one. And it's the one that's defensive. It's the one that's argues. It's the one that's angry, and so on. So go ahead, sweetie.
So how you cure that? If the energy is released in that memory, you'll still have the memory, but when you see an orange rope now, it's like, there's an orange rope because there's no energy in it anymore.
Exactly. So as these parts and memories are healed, the emotion around it, which is the energy, as Chuck said so eloquently, is neutralized. It disappears, and then you don't feel any more pain or distress around it. And when that happens and that healing comes, then you're able to actually be your sane, wise, higher self. And you're actually able to respond in the moment based on the current circumstance as it is, not based on all the history. Right. It's not loaded with all that backlog of emotion. So these parts can have enormous burdens and they can suck your energy. If you are a young person, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and you are exhausted all the time, and you eat well and take care of yourself and so on, and have a good work life and play balance, but you're still exhausted all the time, it's likely parts are just sucking your energy. They just go around with like carrying all this baggage, and this can really make you susceptible to disease. And so if we don't heal these parts, then it's really only a matter of time with these big energy drains before we're facing some big health crisis. All right, so let's get on to solutions. Solutions. I'm going to give you a bunch of solutions here in the next 5 minutes before we finish up. And I want you to know that you can go to our website and try the Judah Treats program. You can try it for $1 for 2 weeks, and then you can cancel it if you don't want it. And if you want to, I even give you permission to record what is there. If you're struggling financially, if you want to record some of them while you're there for that first 2 weeks, I'm okay with that. Okay. Because I want you to get free. All right. So when you do the treats program, it's going to go in, you're going to combine your higher self, your Ted Lasso, your superconscious, with Judah's power. You're going to find the original wound, the original memory, the original moment in time where that part formed out of hurt and being overwhelmed by, as Chuck said, energies, emotions, intense energies and emotions. And you're going to heal it at the core, at the root. You're going to rip the recipe for that thing you don't want, rip it out of the book and take it away from the shelf of your subconscious mind, and you're going to be done with it, permanently done with that. And it takes some patience because you have to work on one part at a time as it presents, one topic at a time, but it's fast, it's easy, it's painless. It's very, very effective because it moves the energy. It's not, that's, Chuck told me for years why talk therapy doesn't work. And I couldn't understand what he was saying fully. Now I get it. Talk therapy, when you're talking with somebody, you're using the 5% of your conscious mind to talk with their conscious mind. So you're still only dealing with 5% of the dealio. If you want to get healed, you have to work on the subconscious level. That's all there is to it. You've got to move the energy, as Chuck would say. So here's the solutions. Get into the Judah Treats program. Call on your higher self to step up as the coach. Start being aware of when your parts are active. There's certain things that people can say or do around me, and I can rest pretty assured that a part will show up. And when they don't, when I'm just fully calm, at peace, neutral, centered, no matter what the normal triggers would be, then I know that I'm fully healed. Ask Judah to help you. Ask for supernatural assistance. One of the earliest channels we got from Judah is Judah said, just ask angels. Judah said, Judah explained that if you can imagine in your life that you're going down the driveway, you're getting ready to get out on the road and go about living your life, living your dreams, and you get to the end of your driveway and realize, OMG, there's a huge oak tree that's fallen at the end of your driveway and you can't get out of the drive. This happens to us. We have blocks. We have old stuff that's holding us back. And so we get out of our cars and we take our little hand saws and we gnaw away, or we yell at the tree, or we shout affirmations at the tree, or we meditate on the tree and the tree is still there and we're still not able to get out of the driveway and get about living our life, right? So Judah said, angels are like big strapping guys with chainsaws, power saws, and they can just zip, 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 zip through that tree and move it out of the way so that we can get on about our business of living our life. So angels bring supernatural power and assistance. Well, I knew it was a sign this week because Chuck, we have a big tree that's down in our yard, and Chuck had to go buy a new saw. And guess what? Guess what the brand name of the saw is? Ego. Ego. So Judah can help you power through your ego and let it go, get it going out. So start being aware of your parts, learn to recognize them, and get to know them. I have a part that's about 5 years old, and she's 5 years old because of a very specific trauma that I went through when I was 5. So, I've spent a lot of years hating that part of me and wishing I would stop behaving in this certain way. But you know what? That doesn't do us any good. Amputating the ego doesn't work. I had to learn to love that part of me. And when I stopped hating her and started loving her and making space for her to scream or shout or cry or act immature, to be a 5-year-old, right? So that's when we got to get in the green ray space with our parts, our hurting parts, and love them, and be okay with being angry or hurt and letting the parts express what they need to express, and then loving them into integration. So we got to stop abandoning ourselves, judging ourselves, exiling parts of ourselves that we don't like, trying to meditate them away, and be a loving Ted Lasso to those parts. Okay, so between now and when you get to dive into some more of this type of work, just ask your superconscious to tag parts whenever they're triggered in your current experience and to treat them in all realms of time and space and to integrate the positive aspects of that part back into your higher self, back into the true you. You have anything more you want to share?
Yes, I think it's important to remember that energy is neutral.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes on the emotion that we intend it to have. So that intention, it can be love, it can be hate, it can be joy, it can be anger, and that intention can be conscious or it can be an unconscious intention.
Good, good. So, the secret to getting free of our ego is to love all of our parts, the good ones, the bad ones, all of them. Love them all, accept them. And when we do that, it allows them, like Chuck said, to relax, and it allows us to be more neutral around it because neutral is the place of freedom. All right, dear ones, you did great. It was a class, wasn't it? But we love you. We want you to be free, and we'll leave you with a blessing. Judah, I ask for each and every one here that you would surround them with your power and that your power tools would just cut through whatever is holding them back. I ask that you would begin to tag and treat any and all subconscious parts that are sabotaging their beautiful souls and the life that they're here to live. And I ask you to give them wisdom and insight into how to coach these parts, and that they would intuitively just know how to address them. Mm-hmm. Good, 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 good. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, dear ones. Yes. Mm-hmm. Good. All right. Wonderful. Love you all. See you next week. Thank you, sweetie, for sharing.